All right, I see people coming in. Let me know if you can hear me. Give me a, I can hear you, Jeff, in the chat. Yes, Marco. Marco, thanks so much for that endorsement on LinkedIn. That was really cool. The one thing though, Marco, you have to give people a link so they can be like, well, what's the agency program, man? So you got to give them, put a link in there. I was going to do that, but that would seem sort of desperate. So anyways, I appreciate it. I'm more tongue in cheek with that, but I really do appreciate it. Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining in this special bonus call. It's 8 in the morning here for me. And I look like at 8 in the morning. I'm wearing a hat from one of my friends. I guess you could call them an agency, but they're much bigger than you'd think. They're called Reactor in Helsinki. It's where Simo Ahava works. I'm sure some of you guys know him. I went to their offices last year and got this hat. And then I have my Google jacket, and this is from the Google Partner Summit 2009. So I've been with Google for a long time. And this jacket, it's cold here. There's snow on the ground, and so that's what I wear when there's snow on the ground, is the overly warm Google jacket. Okay, awesome, everybody. I am like a NASCAR. I hail to any sponsors. It reminds me of one of my favorite things from Wayne's World. I don't know if anybody's ever watched that, but they're like, we will not hail to any sponsors, and then they wear all this branded gear and stuff like that. It's funny. It's still a great movie, Wayne's World. Anyways, so I can see the chat. I can see everybody's doing. And no, we don't want to get into any Marco, no politics, even though you're not even in the US, but no politics, man. Okay, so let's see. I do want to know if you have any questions, please submit them. I only got 2 on the type form, and so I'm going to go with those, start them off, and then we'll get into whatever questions you have here. So hopefully it won't take 45 minutes to go through the type form this time, and we can get into your questions for those of you who are live on the call. And this is a bonus, so this is just like whatever we want. If you get any nuggets out of this thing, then we all win, because that's the whole point of a bonus call. And so let me see here. I'm trying to think of the best way to view my questions. I have this thing in full screen mode. I'm going to put it into not full screen mode. Zach, are you on the call? I don't see you here. Zach is in, oh, you are, Zach. Awesome. So I was going to say it's 5 in the morning for you. I didn't know if you'd be on the call or not, but I'm going to get to your question first. Awesome. Zach, so you have the option. If you want to, you can get on video too. I know it's 5 in the morning. You probably don't want to get on video, but you can ask the question. We can actually do side by side, have you on here as well. We can get you on audio, or I can just read the question and answer it that way. What do you prefer? Okay, so I'm guessing I'm just going to start reading it, and then if you do want to get on, what you do is you hit the raise hand thing, something like that. Yeah, and then I can make you a panelist, and then we can have a dialogue. That might be useful for you. But while you're figuring out what you want to do and scrambling to make yourself presentable, or to figure out if you have a microphone, let's get into the question that Zach has. Oh, Zach did raise his hand. Sweet. All right, so let me find that. Promote to panelist. All right. Zach's a panelist now. Let's see if this works. There he is. Good morning, Zach. Let me see if I have my audio on properly.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. Perfect.
There you go.
Excellent. Hey, Zach. So you submitted a question. I thought it was a really good one to talk about because, well, do you want me to read it, or do you want to just summarize it?
Basically, yeah, like I went through a lot just to test the thing out. It's basically calls for small businesses. That's I guess what the agents would be. But just getting sales has been like, I've been really apprehensive for it. I know it'd be good for whatever company I did it for, but I know it'd be profitable for them. But just actually reaching out to them has been like, it's this weird psychological thing going on.
Yeah.
Normally, I'm not that way with rejection at all. It's just strange now for some reason.
Yeah. So your business is generating leads, but like through phone calls to other small
Yeah, it
businesses.
forwards from a website, not necessarily through AdWords like on your AdWords course, but
Yep.
there's other ways I have to do it that work really well. Um, and also AdWords too.
Yeah. Can you describe a little bit more about like what the business is and like what they get from you? So like what type of business is this?
Any kind of business, any kind of local business. I know you're saying to focus on niches and stuff, but I mean, mostly painkiller. I mean, painkiller versus vitamins.
Hmm.
So like anything from like towing to locksmith to
Okay.
auto body, auto repair, even some kind of some types of food it works with. Like pizza, for example, would work, but like a sit down restaurant, it would not work.
Hmm.
Um, Basically stuff people would generally look up on their and call first on their phone that
Yep.
they would instead of walking into a store like or a shopping mall or somewhere like that.
Yep. Okay. So
And
you're generating
yeah,
the end result. You have a network of sites or some kind of method to make it work
yeah,
pretty well.
there's a few methods out there, and I used
Yeah.
your AdWords course too. That actually works as well too. You can use AdWords and still profitable to a degree.
Oh, cool.
And then yeah,
So
there's a
you
bunch of,
have the
and basically it
product.
forwards to a site, and it uses like Twilio. I don't know if you heard of that. It tracks the call and it records the call and everything, and then so the idea is that they'd only pay for actual good calls, no
Yep.
tele, and it blocks telemarketers too, so it makes their job easier, I guess, whoever's answering the phone.
Yep. Cool. Would you say that, I mean, it's profitable for them and you, right? Like it's a pretty,
Yeah, it'd be
I
guaranteed
assume.
profitable for them. Yeah,
Yeah.
it'd have to.
Okay. So
I don't know exactly what
so
to charge them per call, but it'd be
yeah.
cheaper than Yellowbook. I've tested out Yellowbook too, and that takes forever, and they barely even deliver any calls. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of other companies that do that. There's like Ring Partner, Call Engine. They really either can't deliver, they only operate in special niches like lawyers or dentists or stuff like that.
Yep. So tell me about, like, so I'm a towing service, and you could generate calls for me. Sounds like you could do it pretty, you could turn it on pretty quickly. Sell me. Do you want to try to sell me on it? Like, what would you tell me? Why would I care if I'm a tow truck guy and like I why,
Because all your
like, why
advertising
would
will
I
be
care?
taken care of. All your advertising is done. It's like it's there. It's guaranteed too. You're not gonna if the towing person went straight to AdWords or something like that, they wouldn't get. Especially if they're like a new user, like you described on your AdWords course, they wouldn't really perform that well.
Yep.
Especially with the default settings and stuff like that, or if they use even Facebook ads or stuff like that. There's just no guarantee that they do well, and they normally overpay. Um,
So,
More in
so
my
I think
opinion.
that I think part of it is that, like, that's like, how is it, like that's not necessarily tangible to a business owner. Like if you told me, Jeff, I guarantee you I can get agency owners to get into your program, I'd be like, well, how are you going to guarantee that? Are you going to give me my money back if it doesn't work? Or like, how
Mhm.
long does it take? How much volume can I expect? There's a lot of things that I would want more than just a guarantee, because a lot of us are trained to not trust somebody's guarantee, even if you know that you're so confident in your service that you can get there. So
Mhm.
you know what I mean? Like if I was a tow person, I'd be like, well, give me like, what would happen? Would it be that whenever somebody is stuck on the side of the road, those calls would go to me? How would that end up happening? Um, maybe give them some idea as to like the scenario when somebody would call them, as opposed to going through all these other things.
They
That
get
might be
basically
helpful.
guaranteed business. Like they wouldn't even, literally they don't even have to pay their bill. Basically, I mean the calls would still come in actually to a degree. I mean they get less calls, but it's guaranteed at that point. They don't have to pay a bill to me at all.
I if they didn't get leads, you wouldn't charge them.
If they
You're
did
saying.
did get leads too,
How does that? Oh, because you're setting up the
because
site
they would get
initially.
less
You're not.
if they don't pay. I mean they would get less and less. I mean obviously they barely get anything,
I see what you're saying.
but they wouldn't have to pay. There'd be no agreement or anything like that.
Hmm. I think
I
that,
mean that's the
well, that,
loosest way I could offer that.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't even know if I would, I don't even, I mean, the guarantee is something we should, maybe we can continue to work through, but I don't know if you really
Mhm.
need to make a guarantee or not. I mean, is that really your duty? Google doesn't make
Not really,
guarantees.
no.
Facebook does it.
But it's
Nobody
more
else does.
to put in the
So,
door for these
yeah.
people that haven't
So,
heard of this.
yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I think some kind of case study about the cost of Google versus the cost of your done for you service might be a big
Mhm.
opportunity for them.
That'd be
And to
that helpful.
say,
I guess so.
that might be a type of headline where it's like, did you know that if you pay for Google, it's
Mhm.
like, so let's use tow trucks. Or locksmiths are a really good one, because that's expensive as can be, and there's a lot of spam. There's a lot of bad players in that area for locksmiths. It's the spammiest place on all of Google Maps. Okay, so I want to stick with the tow truck analogy. So it's got to be expensive to call a tow truck on Google. So you can do some keyword research and be like, did you know that it costs $100 to generate a towing lead on Google AdWords? we cost $10, or you can put it into some kind of number and just be like, we are so much better than Google, and that might be your, not even like selling your service, but just like it costs a lot of money on Google, and then get down to like how it's more affordable when you do it, or like, hey, have you tried Google but you couldn't get the volume of leads that you're looking for? That's another, just try to find out what the pain points are of people,
Mhm.
and then sort of craft it into a unified message. And so what I would say is, and I actually did this for agency course, believe it or not, this summer. I wanted to know what people wanted, and so I did a survey of people on the list, and I actually talked to I talked to about 15 potential customers, and I took notes as to why they wouldn't want it or why they would want the course, and I sort
Mhm.
of just got to understand what they were, and I wasn't selling anything. So there's a lot of people I talked to over the summer about this, and I didn't sell them on anything. I just was like, I just wanted to know what their pain points were, and a lot of those pain points made it into the launch that we just did. Like, so a lot of the emails we wrote were written from the perspective of people that I interviewed over the summer. So I had no expectation as to whether I would close them on that first deal, because I honestly, I think sales is a 4-letter word too. Like, I'm not the biggest fan of just cold calling people and trying to sell them. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to understand what I don't want to have to sell you. I want you to buy what, the result that you're looking for. Do you know what I mean? And so I took all
Yeah,
those
so you
calls
reached
and
out
formed it
first
into
and
that.
then you got
Yeah.
information from that
Yep.
and you
And the
iterated
funny
from
thing
that.
is,
Yeah.
yep. And without selling people on that, without really trying to close. I mean, I tried a little bit to close people if they were like, I want this. But other people, what
Mhm.
I ended up doing was, I just like they just bought because of the launch sequence we did. So like that one call and then a bunch of nurturing ended up getting them to become part of the course. Actually, some of
Mhm.
you who are on this call were part of that sequence. Like, you were the ones that came through that whole sequence. And so that worked for me. And it got me over my apprehension, because I'm not a salesperson. You obviously don't want to be a sale, or you're apprehensive about becoming a salesperson. Maybe it's offer, or just reach out, learn. As Thomas says, 90% marketing, 10% sales.
Yeah, I was able to reach out to a few people. It's kind of hard to find them. I mean, you can look up obviously, and let's say towing the niche is really easy. That's the one I tested with, one of the ones I tested with before. And I reached out to a few people, but it's hard to find them. I got even on
Yeah,
LinkedIn, they are there. I mean, but normally if I just call them, I get like some operator or something, and then I'm
yeah,
just another telemarketer, which normally it gets driven away really quick.
yep,
It's hard
yeah.
to
So
I
maybe
say like yeah.
Yep. So maybe you do like email, and you do more thought leadership type stuff. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to get around that. But what I find is that the more value you're trying to, like, the higher the ticket is of what you're trying to sell, the more
Mhm.
touch points you need, the more you need to talk to somebody in order to get them to trust you. Because frankly, if I would have called up you and said, "Hey, join my agency course," you'd be like, "Good luck, Jeff," and you would have just hung up, right? So I think that a lot of it comes down to continuing to build that out, and to continue to build trust. So rather than, I don't think a cold call is maybe the best first step. I think email marketing with like some kind of nurture program or some kind of email um, automation sequence to a lot of
Yeah, I looked
people.
into Facebook lead ads too, and I got a video made for it. I was looking into that as well. I heard that that's actually pretty reasonable cost.
Hmm.
I
Yeah,
don't know if you ever done that.
yeah.
It's
I'm
on
about to
Facebook
start doing that. Yeah,
instead of actually going to a landing page, they literally just fill out a form on the Facebook that pre-populates with their fields of
yeah.
all their contact information if they're interested in something.
Yep. I mean, once you get niche down. I mean, part of the reason why we want to niche is that if you're doing a Facebook lead ad to everybody in the world, then you're going to be like, hey, how's your towing business going to get leads, or how's your business going to get leads? Versus if you got people who are in the towing industry or locksmith, you could be way more focused in the message. So that's one of the benefits of niching, is that your message is much more focused. But when you think about it from the perspective of the user, or from the overall program, and there's all kinds of different ways you can get a targeted list. So like, you could do like viral content marketing, or content marketing around your area. And then when you get into that um, content area, you can then remarket to them. So maybe you do a general thing about like an infographic or something like that about
Mhm.
about a locksmith, or about a towing company or something like that. And then you can have a remarketing pixel. Now you're, instead of going after everybody, you're going after just your audience. There's a lot of things you can do, but it seems like nurture is your biggest thing right now. Is that maybe you don't have to call people blindly to close a deal. I would say it's more of a nurture strategy that you'd want than
And
a
there's been this
than a
this
cold
weird
calling.
creepy psychological thing about calling them without maybe like my subconscious knows that it's not the best way to do it, and that's
Yeah.
why I'm not. apprehensive that way. But like just calling outwards to people, like I'll freeze up on the phone. It's just strange, it's awkward. So I mean,
Well,
the
think
inbound could be the way to go. I mean, but then again, I'm thinking like it'd be just easiest, the most direct forward way to do it would be just to call them up, which is
yeah.
uh,
Well, trust
yeah,
me. I mean, from my experience, getting rejected on a phone call feels 1,000 times worse than getting rejected on an email, because
yeah,
you don't actually get rejected on an email. It just like it becomes a number. Like if like when you
right,
look at an email program, even the best email marketer in the world, if they send it to 1,000 people, they're going to get 40 or 400 of them to open. So 40% open rate is phenomenal.
yeah,
It's like
absolutely.
it's world class. But that still means that there's 600 rejections. Now, if you had 600 rejections on the phone, you'd be like, "Oh my God, this is I'm gonna go and crawl into a little corner and quit business." But if you do it on the email, it works a lot better.
So what would you say a good plan is? I mean, to first reach out to the let's say 10 people, like you said, get feedback and refine that into action points. Like you said, first,
Mhm.
that'd be a good first start to do. So
Yeah, I mean, do you have any list right now or any kind of like contact database or anything?
very little. I mean, I used the trial on Salesforce, but really
Yeah,
didn't get that many in there. Mostly, I
yeah.
would just like find them randomly.
Do you have existing
Uh,
customers that you can call on? So I would talk to your existing customers. That's probably the best way to go because they've
there's
already
only
bought.
there's a friend who had a locksmith, and that's how I originally got the idea. I was like, oh, I can generate a bunch of calls, and I would try to go on AdWords and I'd figure out like it was just horrific for him,
Yeah.
what he was paying. And then I did it for this I did it as a permanent solution for this towing company in Fort Wayne, Indiana. But it's like they wouldn't need me anymore because I did it like permanently. I set up
Hmm.
everything as a fixed price job, and so they really don't need it anymore. The calls are basically coming in automatically.
Yep. I mean, so it's funny because like it seems like you have a really unique service because I don't think I've heard of something that like you're very confident
Yes.
in this, and most people are not. Most people like agencies, anybody on this call, when somebody says, "Can you guarantee AdWords results or can you guarantee leads?" I don't think any, and most people would be like, "I don't know if I can do that," and so I mean, agency partnerships, people on this call, other people who are involved might be able to help you like work with one of their clients, figure out some kind of way. I mean, maybe done for you service is the right thing. Doing
Mhm.
it more as like as fewer clients, higher ticket might be a way to do it. But I think just talking to people. So if you don't have a lot of customers you can talk to, then the next step is to like, I don't know, put yourself out there on LinkedIn and say I'm
Mhm.
doing this. Partnering with people like myself or other agency owners who get these inquiries all the time. Like I get people who are asking about these things. I can now you're top of my mind. Like I can send them off to Zach and have him give a consultation on it.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, the way
Even
that
even
I did
there's
it
like
with
a
mine
fake
was I
site
just
too. Yeah,
what's
sorry.
that?
Even there's like a fake site too that calls keep on going into. I did it as like a proof of concept in Reno, the local area.
Yeah,
I can give you guys a link. I find here 24/7, and calls just keep coming in for like years and years. Because I stopped on the idea for a while because there'd be too many telemarketer calls.
yep.
It's not up right now. Let me see here.
Yeah, you can send it to us or once you get to it, once we take you off the hot
Yeah,
seat. I was gonna
I
say
gotta
the way
find it
that
on
I
my
did
book.
mine was I started with a big list and then I carved down to a small list and then that small list I nurtured and then we put a call to action. I think Mark said that he joined it. Some other people joined it as well, but it was a call to action like just I'll talk to you for about anything you want to, and that was sort of how I did it. So it was really like a big list down to a targeted list of agency owners down to a list of very few, like 1% took me up on the call offer. But that was a lot of anecdotal feedback that I could use to go forward. So you probably
So
only need 5 people to talk to before you can really get to start patterns. 10 probably better, but 5 to 10.
yeah, I read somewhere. I think it was like a few articles I read like on Stripe Atlas forums, and I think it was some Paul Graham article, some essay or whatever. Like of in this stage, you would do things that don't scale.
Yeah.
Reaching out, just reaching out to people directly instead
Yeah.
of relying on some automated marketing mix that a larger company would normally use, and getting feedback from them, and then refining, like you said, you talk to like let's say I guess a dozen people or 10 people or something like that, and then you refine down into, because when you first asked me what I was doing, it was really vague what I said,
Yeah.
and it didn't come out very well. Yeah, I can see that right away.
Well, and you
So
get better
maybe,
at that as you do more, But yeah, everybody thinks that you should automate at this step. It's a terrible idea to automate at this step. I mean, you
yeah,
really,
especially you do things
yeah,
that don't scale. So well, I would say between here and the next time you have a call, I guess, which is like, I don't know, half a month or 3 weeks from now or something.
yeah. Right after the
3 weeks,
first,
I
it's
guess.
January 9th, I think. Yep.
About 3 weeks, yeah. And then between there, so I focus on reach out to people through LinkedIn and email. Tell
Yep.
them I'm not selling them anything. I did that yesterday. I was able to get some ladies' email, and then I follow up through there and just get I say I'm not selling anything. I just want feedback to. I mean, what would you recommend? I say I'm not selling anything. I just
You
like
don't
your
even need to
feedback
say
on
I'm
how I
not
can.
selling anything. Like I have an idea, or I'm working on a product that can generate leads at a significantly lower cost than Google. I'm not sure if it's ready for market yet, so I'm looking for feedback from business owners who want to generate more leads. Interested in having a 30-minute conversation. So just keep it open-ended. Don't, because you are selling something at some point. Like if they talk to them and they want it, then that
Selling their
doesn't,
time, yeah. I mean, they have to give me
yeah,
their
yeah.
time just to give me
Well,
feedback, and I'm
and
really not giving them much in return.
yeah, yeah. But well, what they can get in return is way more than 1 hour of your time. It's like leads. Like, you know what I mean? So like I think about it from the perspective I get called all the time, like, hey Jeff, can you do this for me? And I'm like, no, I'm not really taking on people in this area right now. But I always need downsells. And it seems like this would be a great downsell as a done for you service for people who are very conscious about how much they can spend, because you can build it out and it works for them. So, or you can charge per call, and so it's performance based. So I think that yours is actually, I think everybody on this call to a certain extent, especially the ones in the US, might know somebody who you could talk to. So I think that even just from this call alone, we could probably get you 5, 10 people. So I'll,
Mhm.
I'll I'll go through mine, the people who have come in the last few months that I've had to turn down or push off, and I'll see if they would want to talk to you. Actually, I have one guy in mind for sure that I want you to talk to.
Do you think I should stay with that? I mean, I don't really want to be in that one niche, but I mean, then again, your lesson, uh, like advertises or not advertises that, like advises that you stay in the niche early on, especially so you put yourself as an
Again, I
expert.
mean, the niche is sort of like after your 10th client to 100th client, like somewhere between number 10 and 100, you should be able to sense patterns as to
Hmm.
who gravitates towards you, who gets you momentum, who gives you word of mouth. So right now, I don't think you need to choose a niche, because the niche sort of chooses you between client number 10 and client number 100. It
Hmm.
chose me around client number 10, but for others, I think that it can take longer because they're doing more varied things.
So step one here for an action plan B, reach out to 10 people. Well, actually get a hold of 10 people, not just reach out to 10 people, get a hold of, and not under the guise of trying to sell them something, trying to just get feedback to help solve their problem.
Yep.
And then from there, refine, pitch, I guess pitch deck or pitch or whatever, elevator pitch, whatever
And
you
I'd
want to
say
call it.
refine the service definition too. I don't even know if you need a pitch
Refine
yet.
pitch,
What you really need
refine,
is to be able to say what your service is.
refine service is. That makes more sense. There you go. Service is, and then reach out to. We think it'd be a good target to actually start reaching out to people, and not just on Facebook lead ads or any kind of inbound, but also on outbound. I think there would have to be
Yeah.
outbound as well. I mean, it's going to happen.
Oh yeah, outbound's like a scaling thing, right? So once you've dried up your word of mouth and your network and referrals and stuff like that, then yes, you wanna go out and find a targeted niche. So and a lot like so a niche is like inbound is inbound. Like you get what you get with inbound. Like people who are thinking of you, people who are on this call, people who are on your LinkedIn, they're gonna
Mhm.
tell you, they're gonna give you a bunch of irrelevant stuff. They're gonna give you some relevant stuff. When you do outbound, you're dialed in to what you defined as your niche, basically as your area. So you would
Yeah, that
then
makes sense. Yeah.
you'd buy a list, and then you'd go out and go after them. So inbound is not something you can really niche down on, other than just filtering. Like you can be like, well, this isn't my niche, so then you just turn them down or you move them somewhere else. But outbound's where you can really get dialed in with your business development.
Okay. I guess I'll work on that then. So yeah, I got goals here. Reach out and get a hold of 10 people and be able to speak to them, get feedback, refine it. I don't know any numbers to do for the inbound or outbound yet. I don't know. Refine service offering, I guess. And
Yeah, I mean,
then
I wouldn't worry about like I would just try to hit a minimum or a small number for everything that we do, and then scale after that. So like you don't if you hit 5 people when you wanted 10. That's still good, right? And then you and I can just keep up to date with, okay, well, how is this coming along? So I like the idea of doing updates with the group if we have time on each of these coaching calls or something to see
Yeah,
where
it
we're
seems
at.
like I haven't listened to any of the other previous calls, but it seems like you'd be more busy during the non-morning hours.
Yeah.
Your other calls
Well,
have been more busy, I take it.
yeah, the last one was pretty busy. So this
It was a
one just because it was a
different time of
surprise
day,
call
yeah.
in a different time. So yeah, so it's this one we have time to do this. So okay. Any other things you wanted to discuss, or should we take you off the hot seat?
No, yeah, I'll try to get that. Let me get that link here I had for the fake site, but I can put that in there. Otherwise, yeah, I appreciate it, Jeff. Have a good one.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
All right, I'm going to push you back to attendee.
Sure.
Okay, so that was great. So everybody who was on here who saw that, please, if you have any ideas for how to help Zach out, that'd be great. I think maybe sending him a personal message within the agency course social network system, or whatever we'll call it, the private chat, Zach, and then his last name is Kenyon. And so I hope I'm saying that properly. Okay, so it'd be great to help him out, and hopefully you guys like that hot seat. I think it's pretty cool. It's very personal, and it's more of a dialogue than me talking at you. So the next one that I got a submission from, it's the last Typeform submission, is Mark Fletcher. So Mark, if you want to join me on the hot seat, please say yes, I do. If not, then what we'll do is we'll just read it off and go from there. So let me know if you want to join. And while we're working on that, okay, Mark saying, so Mark, go ahead. Oh, he did raise his hand already. All right, let's get you in there, Mark. Hey, how's it going? Okay, I can't hear you yet. Make sure you have the microphone properly turned on.
That better?
Yes, there we go. That's perfect.
Awesome.
Excellent. Hey, Mark, thanks for joining.
That's quite all right. I apologize for my appearance. I wasn't anticipating being on a video call this
afternoon. neither was I, man. Neither was I. So, excellent. So you had a question about common pain points PPC clients have expressed over the years. Do you want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, so basically, obviously, having gone through the first section of the course, I'm thinking that the best approach for us might be to look at PPC. It's something we've had a lot of success with my anchor client, done a lot of work through that with them. And so it kind of makes sense to start there and just test the water and see where we go. A bit like with Zach, I have a very few clients that I can currently approach, etc. So just looking for those sorts of pain points so that we can see, what's the best way of trying to attract people and let them know about our service.
Yeah, great. So pain points. I like this because there's a lot of them. Just for everybody who's interested, if you want to, how do I say this? We did an interview with a guy named Kirk Williams. He's an AdWords specialist. He has an agency he went from 1 to 3 people, and we just did an interview, and I'm publishing it on Friday, and it's about an hour and a half where we just talk about pain points with scaling a PPC service. So there's going to be a lot of stuff in that one. It's going to be more long form. So wait for that on Friday. We're just editing it and getting it chopped up, and I'm going to make it the subject of the Sage article on Friday. And so that'll be coming out. So that'll be a long form version. But for now, pain points. The biggest pain point anybody comes at me with Google AdWords that they say is that they tried Google and it didn't work. They got screwed. They paid too much. It was unaccountable. Google AdWords doesn't work for me, or Google AdWords is too expensive. Those are the two biggest things, because they probably got sold by somebody who was selling them the world, who is like, there's a lot of people out there selling Google AdWords services. The yellow page companies that they do that. There's like local businesses that charge you very little. You actually, AdWords was like being sold at Sam's Club for a while. Like, okay, so you can do Sam's Club has AdWords services. That's like a big box retailer in the US. So I tried AdWords and it doesn't work. That's the biggest pain point, is that I don't know if I'm going to get a return on this. Does AdWords still work in 2017? And the answer to that is always like, well, an easy answer is, well, you haven't worked with the right company. You haven't worked with a company that does this, or you haven't looked at the results. So this is another time where a case study, where some kind of example of where people were before you and then they were after you, is a way to show, well, okay, it wasn't working for these people either, but we made it work. That's one way that we overcome that, because we can show them that yes, most people come to us saying that and we fix it. So results always trump opinion or any kind of like flashiness. Like if you can just show a chart saying, here's what it was like before us, here's what it's like after us, then you can get there. Now, if you don't have that example, then it might be getting into your methodology and what makes you proprietary. So actually, when I say proprietary, this is something that's in Sales Jumpstart. I know that everybody's patiently waiting for this thing, for Sales Jumpstart to finish. By the end of by like next month, it'll all be out there for you. But there is a lesson where I talk about, where I do a pitch deck, and in that pitch deck, I'm like, what is your secret sauce? Like, what do you do that's different that you're going to get them the results that they didn't have? So that if their pain point was that they manage it themselves, then you can show them how professional management makes a huge difference. If their pain point was that they worked with a shady agency, you can tell them that the reason why you're going to be better is because of this. Do you know what I mean? So you can go through and you can come up with reasons that they wouldn't, you can come up with reasons why you're going to be better, if that makes sense. The one thing that I think is interesting is if they're coming to you with pain points, are you using this for people coming into you to have a solution for that? Or are you saying for your outbound development or for your nurturing, you're going to go through the pain points and address them?
The aim would be to start creating a blog ready so that we can start looking at the sorts of pain points that people have got, starting to make ourselves known as an authority, as it were, or at least someone who has, an inkling of an understanding of what's going on, rather than people trying to do it themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think that the same thing we told Zach about talking to 5 to 10 people who are in the market who might need this is, I think, a good opportunity.
Okay. And how would you advise competing against some of the bigger agencies that would say, well, we've got thousands of people who we've done this for, we've got a lot more investment in tools, etc. How do you then compete against some of the bigger chaps in the marketplace?
Yeah, I mean, I tell me how many, like, go do this for a year and tell me how many times that somebody puts you in a bake-off between you, your small starting agency, and then these big ones. I mean, it's not even the same league that we're talking about. No offense to anybody here, but like these big agencies, that'd be like the Premiership, and then when we're getting started with these smaller budgets, it's lower, right? So you have a major league solution for a major league budget, frankly. I mean, that's what it comes down to. So very rarely in my times did I ever compete with the huge agencies. When we did, we won because we had because we had an opportunity, because we had a relationship. So relationships trump glitz and glamour. Yes, a lot of times the big agencies will get the big budgets because they're sort of equipped for that. They have the team that can handle it. They have the schmoozers. They have the salesperson who has an expense account who can take them to nice steak dinners. They have all these different things that you probably don't have. But then again, do we think that our business should really be going from like £1,000 a month retainers up to £100,000 a month retainers? Do you think that's really the right, do you think that's a leap that you'd be equipped to handle? No, probably not. Yeah. So the market sort of handles itself, right? The market tells you whether you can do this or not. And so ultimately you might want to aspire to get to that point, and it's totally cool to aspire to get to that point. My aspirations were never that high to do like the £100,000, but I was doing $10,000 to $10,000 budgets a month in my sleep. That's like services to us. So $100,000 plus $pound contracts. That's where we got to. So I started where you were at, and we got to that about maybe 2 or 3 levels higher. And when we were competing, then when we were doing that, what I call a bake-off, which is when you I don't know, whatever, you basically come up and try to pitch, and you all go in there the same day, and like one pitch signs out, the other one signs into the office, and you keep like the whole day they're just hearing your pitches. The way that it was almost always comparable agencies. It was very rarely that we'd go up against a big conglomerate or one of those gigantic ones. And so usually like budgets command like resources. So I don't think that's more of a perceived problem, Mark, than it is a real problem, I think. And also, if you want to get over that perception, then actually it will just happen, because your business will have evolved to that point where you have a team, you have those things that can handle it. But big budgets require big staff to work on them.
Sure. It's just obviously that, you know, sometimes you speak to people and they say, well, why should I give you the opportunity to do this when you're so small and, you know, you've got one client, that's fine, but how does that then translate into my business process, etc.? You know,
Well, what would you say to them? Tell me what you'd say to them if they said, why should I choose you? Well,
I'd say because we have had success in one particular industry, and there's no reason why we can't replicate that.
Yeah. So I think that's a flag to me to hear it that way. So let's work on that.
Sure.
What I mean by that, it's too vague. Like, I'm getting pitched right now by somebody who has Facebook services, and they're talking about how they want to do actually Facebook ads for agency course. Now, I could do that myself, but I'm trying to be. I'm the CEO of this company. I'm building the company. So going into Facebook every day is not going to be a priority for me. So they're telling me, and I was like, well, okay, well, here's what I think Facebook strategy should be. This is what a lot of clients will do. They'll do their research. They get to the point where they don't want to do it themselves, but they sort of have enough to be dangerous. And then if you go to a vendor and you say, okay, well, here's what I think should happen. A good vendor is going to tell you, oh yeah, you think this should happen, but I've done this 10 times or 100 times or whatever it is. And this is what I think this is usually what ends up working better. Now, the Facebook vendor that I was talking to, they're like, well, what do you think should happen? I was like, the tail shouldn't wag the dog, right? Like, I shouldn't be the one telling them what their strategy should be. That's why I'm working with them. Now, the difference between a just getting started, somebody who doesn't have a lot of case studies, and somebody who closes every deal is that confidence that they instill in the person that they're pitching. So you didn't put a lot of confidence into me. I know this is not fair for me to say you didn't, because you weren't prepared to do a pitch. And so this isn't a real world situation. But saying, hey, we worked with one client and we were good. We think we can work in other industries good too. You know, paraphrasing. I don't know. I think what I would say is I've been pouring myself into AdWords every day for the last 5 years. And I'm putting this into action. I'm just turning this into a service, and we are crushing it for our clients right now. I would never say I have one client. We lied all the time. Like we when we were 5 people at our agency, we would always go into pitches and say we had 12 people. And you can always, and we'd be like, well, we have, when you include all of our contractors and team members, like we counted our bookkeeper twice. Like we counted we counted our tech support, like our web host as an employee of our, like we sort of just like came up with this narrative that we were double digits. Thomas, it wasn't a lie. It was just a bending of the truth. Because I could round up 12 people and put them in a room for that pitch if they really wanted to see all 12, but they just wanted to know that there was enough that it wasn't like a single point of failure. That's what clients really want, right? They don't want a single point of failure. They don't want Mark to like get a cold and then all their stuff just breaks, right?
Sure.
And so I have a team that does this, and I have clients. So now it sounds a lot better. And I'm looking to take my services into a new area because I've perfected my methodology for whatever industry you're in right now. And I think that it's going to translate really well to there. Now, this service normally, and then you give like normally this service, and this is all truth. This service usually costs £3,000 a month. And that's what I'm going to charge once I get into your market. But right now I want to give you an introductory rate, because I want to work with you and I want to get this case study. I want to get this thing. I'm going to charge £1,500 or £2,000, whatever that number is. And essentially now you've actually escalated your normal rate you've anchored on the market rate. You might be charging a lower rate because you're just getting started. Now you're meeting halfway in the middle, and you have somebody who's like thinking they're getting a discount. They're like, man, this guy is good, and they want to work with you. But I think your first few sales, it's going to be a passion play. Like you have to show how passionate you are about this and how much you want to give them results, and that comes through. And passion is actually, I mean, you should always have that in your business, but it like the first several sales, it's purely passion and cost that people usually decide on. And then you use that to get your case studies. You use that to get better at that.
Okay, so it's finding that balance, isn't it, between not going in too low so you can actually make some form of profit margin, but not trying to oversell your services, etc., and therefore fail because you can't deliver
Yeah.
on what
Well,
you're saying.
everybody wants to feel that they're getting a deal. Like everybody wants to. So how do you give them that feeling? You start high and you meet them in the middle versus coming in low and then they take it. People who are on this call, other people in agency course, they've started to do that too. They're like, okay, I just start higher. And funny thing is, a lot of people don't negotiate like we think they're going to. Like a lot of times people just take it. Siddharth just sent me a note and he said, Jeff, I don't think he's on this call right now, but he said, Jeff, I charge 5x more now plus a setup fee because of the course. Another Andreas, he said that he charged 3x more because of just because he's like, I'll just lead with a higher price and see what happens. So I don't think you don't need to like penalize yourself because you don't think you're good enough. You are good enough. If you can deliver results for one person, you can deliver it for others. If you understand how these things work and all you're looking for is just the opportunity to let your, to stretch your wings, then go with it. But don't penalize yourself and don't hurt your business because you don't have the self-confidence yet. You can do both. You can be confident and you can get paid. It doesn't have to be one or the other.
No, that's great advice.
Cool. Any other thoughts? Mark, any other things that you wanted to add to it?
The only other thing I wanted to ask you really is obviously you've talked about the fact that we should look for niche, etc. Am I right though in assuming, for example, that with something like PPC that you're going to have to offer some form of analytics report or some sort of report that you can offer? You've got to have design services as well to do landing page design, etc.
Yeah, I mean that's a good one. So everybody that I talk to, this is always like the next thing, because it's like you might be great at AdWords in one situation and then you try to do that same campaign on somebody else and it tanks. And it usually comes down to, and I've actually had 3 conversations in the last week about this with agency course students. And it's you have to figure out how does that improve your product? Does it create margins? Does it take away from your margins? You have to make a decision around, okay, well, if I do landing pages, are they willing to pay for that, first of all? Okay, if they're not, and if it costs you like £1,000 in resources and to get a landing page up there, how long, and you need to create 3 of them. Okay, well now if you're charging £500 a month, it takes you a year to recoup the cost of building a landing page. So can you charge for that? Does a client see value in that? And at what point does that, it's a numbers game. Does that make you like, can you go in instead of charging £500 a month or 1,000, can you charge 3,000 because you have a landing page solution now? Can you charge more for that? Or are they expecting the same level of service for the same amount of money? Because if you give that away for free, and if you give away landing pages and reports, those are two things that are definitely value adds. If you separate those things out, is it an expected thing or is it a value add? And so you have to, and again, talking to people to understand whether they think that's included or not. I think you can get more money for it, but it is weird because it's not, I don't think there's a lot of profit in creating landing pages for PPC campaigns if the budget's below £10,000 a month that their AdWords budget is. Because if they don't spend at least that much, they're not going to want it. They're going to be like, well, if I'm spending thousands of dollars for landing pages and then thousands of dollars with Google, why don't I just spend more money with Google? That's going to always be the solution. That's the instinctual solution that any business owner has, is why would I pay a person non-working dollars when I can have working dollars, when I can just get that advertising out in the market? Now it's a false assumption. It's absolutely patently false, because more money doesn't mean more results. It actually usually means it's a law of diminishing returns. It's actually like, it's like, if you look at microeconomics, it's terrible. More money usually puts you down on the curve of profitability, but how much time in the day to explain microeconomics to somebody is another battle you probably don't want to choose. So ultimately you have to decide, is the cost of doing this, does the value outweigh it? And the value can be that they last longer as clients. Instead of only working with you for 3 months, they work with you for 3 years. The value could be that they're paying you more. The value could be that, and those are really the 2 values you get. Either you have longer relationships by giving away something for free, or you have or you have more, or you get paid more because you're charging for it appropriately. And actually, I mean, the funny thing is, like with agency course, so for example, that's why we do so many bonuses, because it's like, okay, well, let's keep on adding these things into it, so we have longer, so people keep on wanting to do this thing. Yes, I could probably try to charge for each of those things, but that's not the model that I chose. So I chose the continue to add value. This bonus, like we're here right now, because it's like, let's just keep on adding value and get people feel really happy about this. Maybe they'll tell friends. Maybe the word of mouth will get out there. Maybe it's a testimonial. So it's a long play that I'm doing. I actually think the long play is usually the right way to go, except for the fact that if it costs you a bunch of resources to add landing pages, then I don't know. I don't know if that's the right way to go or not.
So in that case, how can you prove results if, for example, they're not getting the leads because the quality of the content they've currently got on their site is not going to act as a magnet to the site visitors they're trying to convert into prospects and ultimately customers?
Yeah, I mean, that like telling somebody that their baby is ugly is not easy to do, and
But
telling
it's
them
true,
that
though,
it's their
isn't it? There's a lot of
yeah,
sites
yeah.
out there that, they're horrendous and they're never going to end up by being able
Yeah.
to, generate.
I mean, you're in a position right now. You might have to eat the cost of making it ideal. Frankly, I had to do that for a long time. I just did it, and I sort of since it was me, it was still revenue. I did that for a couple of years. Eventually, we got to the point where we could actually say we had the reputation, the results, where you just say, "Oh, we don't do that." Like if you want somebody that's a bargain basement provider, go ahead. They're going to call you in 5 minutes. They're calling you every 5 minutes. If you want somebody who does this the right way, here's the right way to do it, and this is what we charge. Our price is our price.
Yeah.
And our concession, frankly, would be that instead of charging, and we would charge 2 times their retainer to 3 times in a setup fee. So we'd be like, it's $5,000 up front plus $2,000 a month, for example. Well, they'd be like, I'm not going to pay $5,000. Like, okay, we'll spread it out. So it's actually, we're going to charge you $2,500 a month, but we want a 12-month contract.
Gotcha.
And if you do the math, actually that becomes even more profitable on month 7. You actually get paid that plus then some.
Yeah.
And so then,
Sure.
so those are ways you can do it. Is like it's creative financing, creative structuring. It's putting in the sync of like all the value you provide, and then being able to make a decision yourself and using the numbers to say, is this still profitable to do it? And frankly, everything's profitable when you're first getting started, when you're trying to expand your business, or everything's revenue. Like revenue is probably more important than profit until you get to the point where you need to make that switch.
Gotcha. Okay, that's good advice. Thank you.
Cool. All right, Mark, I'm gonna let's hang this one up, and we're gonna go to the next one. Thanks a bunch for joining. And check out the chat, Mark, because there's some really cool advice in there. Ricardo asked a question. So this is the last question we have submitted. So submit your questions if you want to, and you don't have to get on the hot seat if you don't want to. Mark or Ricardo, would you like to go on the hot seat? All right, perfect. Raise your hand in your panel. Actually, I can promote you too. Hey, how's it going? Excellent. I don't have the audio for you yet. So if you want to check out the audio thing to make sure that we have that in place, let's see if that will work.
There you go.
There we go. Yep, I got you. Perfect.
All right,
Okay.
good morning.
Hey, good morning. Let's do this. So, do you want to just say your question, or should I read it first?
Please read it. I forgot.
Okay. Okay. So Ricardo says, it seems to me that showing people what their competitors are doing gets their desire to invest on your marketing service. Is that a technique you use? Like, so yeah, so doing competitor research, showing how much they're spending, and then seeing how that influences them.
Correct. So
Yeah,
I use it, but I don't know if it's,
go ahead.
The right approach at all times. I mean, it seems to me that there's a couple of niches that I've been investigating and looking into, like small businesses that have maybe a couple of stores that are looking into expanding into a franchise concept. To me, that's a niche that I'm really interested in, simply because they're looking to expand, therefore increase their marketing budget. But they're small enough that, like you said, like budgets, demand like resources.
Yep.
You said that a few minutes ago. I said, they're at a stage where I can come in and compete, but they're at a pivot point in their business where I can probably, go up
Yep.
with them.
Yep.
So to me, to those people specifically, that specific niche, I thought about, utilizing, just a little bit more data to show
Yep.
them what their competitors, who they aspire to be, are doing, what their budgets look like, and so that they can. So I was
Yeah, no,
wondering if
I
you.
love it. Yeah, so I've tried to sell into franchises before, and I've been successful with the home improvement industry and in a few other ones. A lot of other franchises, it's weird. Like everybody has the idea to call on franchises, and so there's a weird thing where yes, if they're one or two locations, you can work with them, but it's like then once they get to a certain point, then everybody in the world is calling on them like that. Like we're not. Nobody, we all have that idea because it makes sense. It's like fish. It's like, okay, if we can do this for these two locations and they have 100, we can make 100 times more money working with these people, or 50 times more money by, scaling up the service. And so there's,
No,
I just,
know that it's hard to compete at that level already. I mean, I
Yep.
have a couple of friends that own,
Yep.
whole counties for, like big franchises and whatnot.
Yep.
But I know that's way out of my league.
Yeah.
For a lot.
Yep.
But
It was out of my league too. And it depends, right? Because it becomes more of a technology play to handle all the support requests. It's totally different than the personalized services we offer to one or two locations. So that's actually why it's out of the league. It's because you wouldn't be able to do your same methods of management off 100 locations. Especially if you build them individually. Like when we expanded, we were doing 100 to 200 locations at a time and charging them like $300 a month, which ends up being a lot of money when you think about it. $300 times 100 is like $30,000. But then the billing resources that were evolved, we had to like hire 2 full-time bookkeepers just to charge them. You have credit card payment fees. You have to do. There's all kinds of different things that go into it. You have to handle support requests. So a single account manager can't handle 100 angry customers. You need to, so our problem was we expanded. And we actually gave the same service level agreement to the people paying 300 that we did to somebody who was paying us real good money. I don't mean it that way, but we're all friends here. We're all being honest about the business side of things. I wouldn't say that publicly by any means, but like $300 is not the same. You don't get the same SLA as if you pay $3,000, right? So that was a mistake we made, and is a pretty major mistake, and we didn't even know it happened until it was too late. And there's a lot of internal debate between me and my business partners about how we should handle this. A lot of like the ones who were selling were like, well, that's more money, so you can just figure out the delivery part. And I was more on the delivery side, and I was like, that's not how it works, and you're not willing to give me any investment because you're telling me this is less profitable. It was a mess. Anyway, so again, big big problems have big resources. I guess that's the right way to put it. So you could become that company, but it's a total different company than where you're at right now. So I couldn't agree with you more. There's a lot of behind it. Anyways, so but that doesn't mean you can't expand to like locations 5 through 15, right? Like that doesn't mean you can't ride them. You can't be there for a while and get to that point.
Correct.
So ultimately, I love competitive research, especially when you're in an industry where the people are competitive. Now, when I say competitive, I mean they want to make more money. They want to beat the competition. And I think franchises, or somebody who has a couple locations who has ambitions to get to 100 plus or to franchise, they're competitive. So that would completely appeal to their nature, where you can say, hey, you're not spending nearly as much as everybody else. Here's what's happening here. One of the problems with it is that it's not always easy to find data. So you can't, like SEMrush or like these major platforms where you pull data from, they might not even have data on that competition. They might not have anything on that piece, right? They might not know who they are. So you might have to go to the bigger competitor. Sometimes what you say, if you say like, let's say for example, if they're like a restaurant and you say, they're like a burrito restaurant and they have 2 locations, they're looking to expand within the area. And then you give them Chipotle's competitive analysis and you're like, oh, Chipotle is spending this much. They're going to check out, right? Because they're going to be like, I don't know, this isn't relevant to me.
That's not realistic. Yeah.
So you should use it, but it's to craft a narrative into what they should do. So and as an analyst and as an analytics and business guy, I almost always use numbers to support the narrative of what a recommendation is. And the recommendation is usually it's like tell me if this sounds familiar. You know, within 5 minutes of talking to somebody what they need to do, but then you spend the next 5 to 10 hours or 50 or 100 hours proving to them why they should do it. You know what I mean? Like we know the solution within 5 minutes, but the money's not in the solution. The money's actually in the implementation. Like the strategy is, unless you charged like a bunch of money for your strategy, the strategy ultimately is a loss leader that ends up going into your implementation because it takes so long to do these things. And so ultimately that's where these numbers come in. So if you know the strategy, you find the numbers to import how to do that, if that makes sense.
Yes, sir, it does. And the only other reason why I brought this question was because if there's a problem with, not a problem, but something I've seen just by research is that franchises are very strict when it comes to marketing. You know, part of it is like people are buying into their system. And that includes their marketing system and how they deliver and how they build a brand. So it usually the franchisor is the one that is, you know, is the POC when it comes to this. So if you get to that point, you know, so I was wondering if you ever had that opportunity, because it would be interesting, you know, just to see something, you know, just to be that point, person of influence to the person who's, you know, growing that business from that in that specific part of the business.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, absolutely experienced that. So we sold into Marvin Windows. Like, so basically the way that a franchise works, for everybody who's listening, if you are the franchisee and you're the one who has like a couple locations, you are paying a marketing budget into the franchise, the franchise holder. Usually it's not cheap. You know, you're paying either 10% of revenues or up to 10 to 20% of the store take goes up to the marketing, or it goes into marketing, it goes into collateral, it goes into all these different things. Plus they have like the mandatory, you need to buy food from the suppliers. If it's a restaurant, you need to buy equipment from them, and they take a cut on that. So they're taking a big percentage of it, but they're also giving you services in return. They're giving you national television, for example, or national coverage with print or anything. You know, they're giving you a lot of services, but every franchisee hates their franchise. They think they're not doing enough with their marketing dollars. They think that they'd be able to do a better job themselves. They completely resent the national entity. They think they're doing a shitty job. They think that they need to do their own marketing. They need to pay a little bit more money, and they're willing to do that, you know, and they're willing to go and do more and more. And so which is what it is. Now, so I've sold into the franchise, like Marvin Windows. We did it with James Hardie Siding. These are like two of the biggest, I mean, they're the top 3 in their industry for siding and windows. And what we did is we did a national program for Marvin Windows. And then they set up something where people could buy supplemental PPC service from us for a lower rate. This is really, it's the $300 to $500 a month. We'll manage their AdWords campaign on their level too. So they can get double the coverage. That was how we positioned it. And that's where it became sort of, you know, not very good. We did the same thing for Window World, which is another window provider. And we didn't do the national campaign, but we did favorable pricing for everybody in that area. That was that was another way to do it. But basically the advantage of working with a franchise is they can get you introductions that you, like what Zach was talking about. Like, this is a good idea for you, Zach, is that if you can figure out like a national locksmith chain, and then you can go out there and you can talk to them, and they can introduce you to 100 different locksmiths. That's pretty cool. Like, those emails don't go to spam. Those phone calls don't go to a messaging system. Those phone calls go right to them. They know how to reach them. So there's advantages to going into that area, but it's also a new challenge, which is how do you scale your business, and how do you make a lot of money off of, or how do you make a small amount of money off of a lot of clients? We're not equipped to do that until we've had some success. And so, yes, the model makes sense. It seems good, but I think that you have to choose where you want to play, I think. And then you also have to roll with the punches, because some franchisees are going to want you to do the national stuff. Some of them are going to want you to do the local stuff. At your point right now, I would say having success with franchisees, getting there, giving them supplemental plans to what the franchise offers them, and then having them tell their friends, and just doing a few franchisees. That's how I would probably expand. I wouldn't give a discount, because you're not at the point where you need to necessarily give a discount, because you're not doing this at scale, and you don't have the systems in place yet, or maybe you don't ever want to have those, where you have the help desk, where you have the the auto billing, that type of stuff. And so that's how we did it, was we just talked to people who were part of franchises, and then we had them tell the other dealers, and we sort of spread organically then. And then we got the meeting with the franchise, with the major franchise, once we had enough of their network. It was right around 10 to 20%. They're like, oh, the general rule is for anybody to listen to you, it has to become 15% of their revenue. If that makes sense. So what I mean is, like, if AdWords is 15% of revenue, then it's on the radar of the C-suite of a company. Or if online marketing is, if it's below 15%, nobody really cares. It's just like a little fly on the wall. Okay, just do that. Just go off and do that. We as long as we're not getting burned, as long as it doesn't make us look bad, we'll just keep on doing that. So once you get to that 15% saturation point, then people know who you are. You don't even have to do anything. They know who you are. And that's when you start to pursue that angle if you want to. Now, we burned a lot of, the least profitable thing, the top 3 least profitable things that my agency has done, it was going after these franchises, or like the overall franchise, and trying to sell into them. It was a terrible mistake, because we didn't go to market the right way. We tried to just take our normal service and bolt it on to people paying less, which a lot of things that I talk about in the agency course are like, man, I wish that I would have done it this way, because the way that I did it was painful. And so that's one where, like, a lot of things that I teach are like learned from the opposite of how it should have been done when I did it, if that makes sense.
We appreciate it. We appreciate it, because that's true teaching right there. A lot of the mentors that I have, I'm blessed, people that are very successful in business, and that's how they teach me. 90% of their teachings are failures. So I'm like,
yeah, good. I've got a lot of them. You guys stick around. We have years of failures for us to do on these phone calls. Awesome.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it, Jeff.
Yeah, thank you so much. Appreciate it. I think that's the end of our questions. This has been this is awesome. I love these. Looks like somebody else maybe is raising their hand. Marco is, yes. So Marco is going to have a question. Thanks a bunch, Ricardo. I'm gonna dump you, or not dump you. That sounds terrible. But I'm gonna move you down to back to an attendee.
Yes, sir.
All right. Looks like Marco, I just invited you on. Hey, how you doing? Audio is tough for people at first, so make sure that you do. It's not you. It's the Zoom. I think you need to make sure that your microphone is not muted.
There it is.
There we go.
It's okay now. Yeah. I use Zoom a lot, and I always tell that to other people. Now I'm sitting on the opposite side. Thank you for handing me the screen. I replied with a question using support@agencycourse.net.
Okay.
But I thought the answers and the questions you gave to the other teams were good as well. So I figured, why not give you a small pitch talk and let you shoot me down.
All right, let's hear it.
I can actually add some visuals as well, because I could share the screen with what I see here.
Good.
Would that be possible?
Yeah.
Of course,
do you have a share screen button?
Yeah, I have it. I have it right in front of me.
Sure. There we go.
Do people see this? I know it's
yeah.
Dutch.
I got it full screen, bright front and center.
English is not my main language, so we'll work through it. But basically, what I do is I analyze and optimize websites. That's not what I used to do. I used to be in marketing, graphic design, packaging design, but that's been a while. So I try to find the holes in the website and create conversion optimized redesigns, or give the data to people who want to create conversion optimized redesigns. So does that make any sense?
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, I talk about it a lot. I talk about to entrepreneurs, local groups. Well, you talked about being commercial. I'm way too friendly. I'm working on that. In the sense that I spend too much time with people because I want them to have a good end result.
Yep.
I'm working on that. So basically, this is one of the pitches I give. You're the expert in what you do. It can be towing away cars or whatever, and you're an expert if you spend over 10,000 hours. And
Yep.
they're all nodding. Yes, we're the experts. So this website's not built for you; it's built for your clients, and they're the experts in being online and buying online. So if you think about it, they've spent 10,000 hours easily online.
Yeah.
So they can
Are you
smell,
switching through your slides? Sorry, I just want to make sure that we're on the right. I still see that just the title slide.
Oh shit! Yeah, I am switching between the
Okay.
slides.
I'm not sure if everybody else is seeing the switch or not. Maybe mine's frozen.
Oh, so when somebody
Okay,
chats,
there we go.
yeah, when somebody
Okay.
chats, I get a pop-up and it freezes, I think.
Okay. Yeah. All right. I see it now. Okay. I see it now. Yep. Okay. I'm on the next. I'm on slide 4 now.
Okay. Yeah, sure. So basically, I was showing Einstein being the expert. Perhaps I better do it like this. So I give them feedback. They're the expert, and then we move on. The client, you're paying for the website, but it's not yours. You're not going to visit it. You're not going to read it. Your clients are.
Yep.
And they're the expert in being online and smelling bullshit. So why is it important to put the client center and not your family in front of the store waving at people, which I've seen? Because we've only got 2 seconds and then they're gone. They've got maybe 6 tabs, windows open. If you don't provide them within their needs, they're gone and you got 2 seconds. At this point, usually I'm of course I'm at their office or they're in my office. And the funny thing is, I've sort of drifted towards working for web designers and web developers. Web designers want to make a design and they don't want to make 3 designs or 4 designs where people's personal opinion starts shifting. I don't like red. Yes, but you're selling fire extinguishers. We should definitely add red, but I don't like red. And then I basically come in and show the data, why people should do that. And there's data for color as well. The others are web developers. They just want to develop a quick website. And I do an expert review on the old website and basically hand them ammunition why it's necessary to create that new website. So they're using me to get a budget. Why we want data-driven design, and that's a trend over here in the Netherlands. Everybody's looking for data. So I just bring in a bunch of data. Can be anything. Can even be Google Trends data. As long as it's data and it helps us sell, then it's okay. But of course, we don't know anything about their clients. So we need them in the team. We can't just design something. We need to talk with them. We need to understand their users and what their users are trying to do. I hope it's a bit understandable. Of course, it's all technical. Our talks are very technical, and then we amp it up a bit. This is a conversion formula. This actually exists, and it sounds very technical, but it's very easy. It's one of the things I found on Hacker News some time ago, and it works great. I even sell sessions with this. Designers take me and this formula presentation along to their clients, and we walk through the entire thing. And it basically is conversion is motivation times unique value proposition, incentive, friction, and anxieties. When you've done the entire formula, you know basically everything there is to know about their clients. And then you can start creating the information architecture or landing page, can be anything. But it's more of a process. And then we try to adapt their services around the clients. At this point, they're usually a bit numb. So we got a little joke here. Can everybody see this? So this doctor says, "Oh, you got a headache? Let's do some brain surgery." Nobody in their right mind would walk away with this doctor. They'd want an MRI, blood research, whatever you can get. But somehow with web design, with websites, somebody can just walk in and says, "Oh, you don't need sliders because sliders suck." Well, how would you know? You haven't looked at the data. They might suck generally, but my client doesn't have a general problem. He has specific problems. And we're trying to find out what his specific problems are. So we need to do the research first. So often there's Google Analytics, and I can find some trends in there. I do this research model from Conversion Excel.
Yep.
It's basically the 360 degrees user testing, web analysis, heuristic analysis, technical analysis, surveys. And by using that, we get some insights, and then we can formulate a hypothesis around which we want to create a new design. For the designer that's hired me, this is very valuable because he's no longer discussing opinions. They're discussing facts. So we can really shape the narrative using the data. One small screenshot that got me a nice job. Client didn't know anything about his Google Analytics, but it was running. And I showed them 70% of your users are using mobile to order an appointment. But your website doesn't work on a mobile. Well, they were shocked. It doesn't work. No, it's got the Revolution slider. It's way too big. But they're trying to order an appointment for getting their hair done. So that's usually people at home using a tablet or a phone. After they saw this slide, it was done. We got a nice budget. We could start developing. In the end, we created a website that was responsive, of course. This was it. But more important were the mobile designs. So I got a nice job afterwards as well. This is Zoom screenshot. What happened when we launched the new website? The bounce rate dropped around 40%. And the number of people that started using the website increased, I don't know how much. We did a small survey. People gave the website an 8. And this is the Netherlands. We never give anything higher than a 6 to anybody. So that was very good. So I try to tell them, you're paying for the website, but you're not going to use it. You don't want to give the impression you're there just for you. You want to be there for your clients. And that's what we try to do with the website. I got some agencies who work with me and some nice quotes. And of course, we do some A/B testing as well, where we segment the traffic for first-time users or repeated users. I don't think I need to explain this to you, but to the others, I don't know. This is something I've noticed everybody wants. Everybody's looking for this. I got a nice slide explaining why would you want to do that, and I talk about regular coffee, and then I show Starbucks, which is basically personalized coffee with your name on it, and you pay about 4 times as much or 10 times as much. And then I end up with this slide. Being an entrepreneur isn't easy. Let us help you through the other side. So it's a long talk for me.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed you didn't fall asleep.
Yeah. So you ready for feedback?
Yes, shoot.
Okay. So so you and I have obviously talked about how you offer you've been paid for 42 different services in the last year, right? Or since you've started your business.
Yep.
I have no doubt that you could sell 42 different services from this deck. I mean, like this could branch out. Every one of these slides is 2 services you could sell, so not that's good or bad. It's just it's almost like this deck is like a general diagnostic tool where you can go through there and you can say, hey, if you need this, I do this. If you need this, I do this. What do you need? I mean, that's my main impression of this thing, is that it's basically educating the customer, which there's nothing wrong with educating, especially since not everybody's on the same page. Not everybody is in the same echo chamber that we are in our business, right? Like we are in an echo chamber. Not all of our clients or customers or prospects necessarily are. So you're getting them on that same page. I think you're just going through like, hey, we could do all these different things. So my thought is that this would be a very strong general capabilities deck, and meaning no matter where they're at, you're letting them know what you're capable of doing. And so actually when in Sales Jumpstart, which I know you guys haven't seen these yet, but they're coming very soon. Another one should be out tomorrow, and then it's every twice a week. I have a base pitch deck template, and you have about 3/4 of the things that I recommend putting into a base pitch deck template, which is good.
Okay.
That's really good. But what I sort of recommend is doing like a T-shaped deck. So before you get on the call with this person, before you do the pitch, you need to like understand what they're really looking for, and like this doesn't anticipate what they actually need. This is just a general deck. What I would do is I would go in depth in the one thing that they say that they want. So it's like, hey, I'm capable of doing many things, and I'll do one slide on each of the services that I offer, but then I'm going to go really deep. I'm going to go 5 to 10 slides deep on the thing that you told me you wanted on the phone before we pitched. So that's one of the additions that I'd make to this. 2 is you don't really, and this might be a cultural thing in the Netherlands, but you don't sell me why you're qualified to be doing this. It's like other people's research, other people's models. It's nothing about you and why I should work with you. This is a relationship business. So like, why should I buy you versus other people? Now, part of it's because you're in the room, but you want to reinforce that as well. I think it's tough for us to do that, right? Like it's tough for us to brag about ourselves, but that's exactly what somebody wants in this situation. It's one of the few times, and this culturally, you can tell me if I'm wrong in the Netherlands, but people they want to work with it. They want to be like, I'm here with the best. And that's what they want. Even if you don't feel like you're the best, you are the best for them right now because you're the one in the room giving them the solution. So you know what I mean? Like you need to sell yourself a little bit more. I think that you're using other people's methodologies. I think you should say, here's our methodology, even if it is other people's stuff, like make it look like this is your way of doing things, if that makes sense. Yeah, I love the conversion equation. Actually, like you could spend an hour on that. Like you said, you did a whole training on it. Yeah, but that's like, yeah. So
it's in there somewhere.
Yeah, and then the other thing is that this is going to lead you to continuing to have 42 different services, which is not niched down. So it's like, how do you want to continue to do that or not? So you know what I mean? Like I like it. It's pretty. It's better than most pitch decks that I see. It's just that it doesn't really guide me as somebody who would buy from you in the direction that it would that I would even know what I'm buying. I'd still at the end be like, hey, what are you trying to sell me on?
Yeah,
it's not focused.
I understand. Yeah, I understand. Of course, usually this is just the first talk, and then they start talking about what they want, and
yep.
I do the research, or we create another date, and then I sell things like expert reviews. That's something like this. This is a well-known format, and I basically walk through whatever's wrong with the website.
Yeah.
A lot.
I was gonna say that's another thing that I definitely recommend is like showing them what's wrong with their stuff. Like you can tell them what they're doing wrong or where you see room for improvement. So putting their logos in there whenever possible is good. Also like logos of people you've worked with or I know you have the certification slide. That's one of the comments is that Ahmad says that it's too early or it's too late. It doesn't capture the attention. I'm gonna share with you all the pitch deck template just so you can see it, because why not? Even though it's coming out, there's going to be a video to explain it, but I'm just going to give you all this just so you can download it and take a look at the template we provide in agency course. I think you might think it's interesting.
Thanks, Ahmed. I didn't read all the comments yet, but perhaps Jeff can export them when he finishes up. I don't know. Sorry to interrupt you, Jeff.
Yeah, no. I'm digging for something right now, so you can
Okay.
continue to talk. I'm just trying to find out where I have it. It's going to be a Dropbox link. It's not.
All right.
It's just sitting in our Dropbox.
Oh, for the other guys, I've been practicing with a Pixar pitch. I don't know if any of you know what it is. Basically, all the stories made by the Pixar team, the original stories, the original 5, follow the same format, and turns out you can use it very well for pitches as well. So if you Google Pixar pitch, you'll find the structure.
Huh. I didn't know that. All right, I'm gonna drop this in the chat so you guys can download it. It will be, there's a whole video of me narrating it as well.
Oh, I just clicked it. Sorry.
No, it's fine. No, you can open it up if you want to, but yeah.
I'll stop the share. So you're back.
No, I think you're 75% of the way there. I think just a few little tweaks and really more. Like this is a good base pitch deck. Like you could use this with everybody, and then if you just personalize the examples and you sell yourself better, you're going to get there. But the other thing is like and this is a comment I think Thomas says is like, it doesn't say what's expected. How can they commit if you don't know if they don't know what is expected? I know this is more of a discovery deck. It's not even so much a pitch. It's like a discovery area. Usually my sequence is usually a discovery is actually not even a pitch. It's not even a deck. It's just a phone call, like a 30-minute, just like, hey, what do you want? What do you think you need? That type of stuff. And then so that's what I usually do. Oh, I think mine said to all panelists. That's my fault, Zach. So that should be out there for everybody now. So yeah, I mean, I would love to see, if you want to, I mean, sort of like what I did with my friend Josh, just like giving him the feedback and then seeing the iteration. It'd be fun to see your iteration too.
Yeah, I will. One final question: would it be possible for us to see a Google Analytics report you sell? And because I sell those things as well, but sometimes they're real basic. And so I was thinking, how far can you move that up? How would you sell a Google Analytics report? Would you send a presentation, or would you just?
I mean, so that's the funny thing is like, when somebody's buying a Google Analytics report, they're buying. The reason why I charge what I charge is they're buying Jeff giving them a Google Analytics report. I doubt that my report is that much better than anybody else's. I do it, so it's mostly based on reputation and based on wanting to work with somebody who's achieved a certain amount of thought leadership, so that they're you know, a lot of what I do for my own personal marketing is to this, like, get people to say, I want that. Like, so I put out stuff and then I want people to say, I want that. And so it's valuable. And so, so let me just continue back to, I lost my train of thought, but so the difference between mine and somebody else is maybe not better. I pride myself in being thorough, no mistakes, no typing errors. The report it goes super in depth. It provides things. I'll present it to people. So I do like a deck presenting what the results are. I don't know if I want to show it to you without scrubbing it, Marco, because it's real client stuff with real actual data that's under NDA. So I on the spot right now, I can't do that because this is recorded and I don't want it to.
No, I totally understand. But the structure is like you have a presentation and you use Zoom, or you're at their office. Or...
Yeah. So generally speaking, I pitch in person whenever I can, but usually it's on like it's a 30-minute discovery call. It's an actual pitch deck where I talk about what we can do. I do as much as I can to show them that I know the answer to their problem. Again, usually I know the answer because I'll get an NDA and I'll go into their analytics and discover what the problem is. And then I'll sell them on me providing the solution. Cause it's not that, doesn't take me that long to find a problem, especially when you've done this for a long time. Like, you know, the problem instinctually a lot of times. It's gathering evidence, gathering an argument, and then actually the implementation piece that takes the time. And so you tell them that you know the problem, and then you sell them on the implementation. That's generally the way to get properly compensated for what you do. And so Yeah, so I'll do that, and then usually the final presentation is like a 30 to 40 page, like on a Google Analytics audit, it's a 30 to 40 page document with screenshots and documentation and links to like the official way of Google to do it. Basically saying here's a section in Google Analytics that you have not addressed: site search. Here's how you turn on site search. Here's what the reports look like. Here's our instructions explicitly on your website. Here's your current search URL. Here's what you need to put into this little area. So it's like a step-by-step implementation guide of what they have. Or like, your data shows this, we think this is wrong. Here's a step-by-step implementation guide to fix cross-domain tracking. Here's screenshots from our Google Analytics tools that show you what you're doing wrong. And so I try to make it so that it's like so easy that anybody could implement it. And then it turns out that then they're like, oh, well, this is really cool, but we can't implement this because our developers are busy or whatever. And so then usually they'll ask me for a quote on the implementation work as well.
Okay.
So that's generally how I structure it, is like, here's everything you're doing wrong, and then here's the next steps and the order I think you should implement them. And then then they're like, can you give me a quote to do this work?
Excellent. Thanks.
So and let me think about this scrubbed GA report structure. I know you guys want to see it, but I have to decide. I can't. I'm not going to decide right now whether I'm going to be able to show it to you guys or not, even if it's scrubbed. I just need to think about it and think about what it means. Because yeah, okay. So, but I've seen a lot of other people's audits, and they all pretty much follow the same thing. Like, a lot of times when you're working with a client, they have multiple agencies, and they'll send the audit from one agency to the other. So like, you see enough of them that it's pretty much the same structure. It's like, here's what you're doing wrong, here's how you should implement it. But then again, the values in the implementation itself.
Don't you give advice as well? Because here's a trend I see happening on your website or something.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you actually look in the data itself and say, here's what the data is telling me, is that you have this opportunity. So here's a nugget of information and everything. Yeah. I find that I get the most excitement and enjoyment out of, instead of doing a big audit, like a 60 or 40, 30, 40, 50, 60 page document plus a PowerPoint telling them what they should do. I actually like to do live audits where I do either in person. I do a lot of in-person trainings where you get a day of my time, and we just talk about anything you want. We can do a 101 pitch or a 101 presentation. We can look in your data. We can talk about specific clients, just however you want to use the time. We'll just do that. And so it's a group training. And a lot of times you can get almost as much done in a day as it would take in 2 or 3 days of going in and auditing and then writing up the recommendations. So I like that model as well. It doesn't scale the best, but you can charge, like, your daily rate is much higher, but it's not as scalable as churning out reports, because you have to travel and there's all these other parts to it. So and a lot of people ask this in the forums. I mean, analytics in particular, how do you turn it into a recurring revenue service? Or how do you do that? I mean, there's some things that are expected to be done one-offs, and there's some things that are expected to be done monthly. And so audit and getting them improved, that's expected to be something that's a one-off, because once the audit's done and you fixed it, it's fixed. That's the expectation, versus like a health check where you're continuously checking the health of their data and making sure that it's correct. That could be something you could continue to do monthly or quarterly. The monthly reports, those are something that are expected to be done often. A recurring revenue model doesn't have to be a monthly model, though. I mean, it could be that you do some things quarterly, you do things annually. Like, those are still recurring revenue models where you keep somebody at a certain piece. Just that we think monthly because we want monthly revenue coming in. Like, versus if you do an annual model, it actually it doesn't pay off until the end of the first year. You know what I mean? So like, that's part of the problem, is that if you do an annual model, you have to fill the client funnel for the next 11 months until that next person renews, or until they go again. So,
all right,
excellent. Well, yeah, let's keep this thing going. And so, I don't know. Let's figure out the best way to do it. But maybe after this with this pitch deck template and everything, and watching that video, you might want to come up with a new version of it, and then tell me, and then I can just give you feedback in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I would
okay,
love to.
cool.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.
Awesome. All right, thanks, Marco. Yeah, everybody. So this is, I think this has been really good. I didn't know what to expect. I like the videos. I saw Deb put a comment in there that, and I'm going to demote you or whatever I said the last time. You're off the hot seat. You're out of here. Oh, I did the wrong thing. Let's see. Oh, I assigned you a closed caption. All right. That doesn't make any sense. Now I'm the closed captioner. Okay. So, awesome. So Deb said that she really enjoyed this format. Yeah, I mean, and I think we could do this on the monthly calls. I think if we have more attendance, it's going to be hard. So maybe this does become a separate call where we do this, where we do the hot seat and we accept 5 people into the hot seat once a month, and then it rotates so everybody has a chance. Or we'll see that. That might be a good way to do it. I have to think about it. I have to think about what I'm getting myself into and how it plays into my travel schedule. So that's part of this, is that I do travel a lot. So I want to make sure that we're doing these consistently as far as the time goes, so that they know they can expect these things. But I'm open to it. I this is really cool. Hopefully you guys found this really, really worthwhile. Even if you weren't the one on the hot seat, hopefully you got some wisdom and some advice here, that, or not even advice, but just like some wisdom that might apply to your business. And I would love to have you guys do this as well. So I'm not committed yet, Deb, to doing this once a month, but I like the idea a lot. Okay. And so, and the AirPods did last. So I don't have any more questions, and I think it's been an hour and a half. So hopefully you guys enjoy this. Send me feedback about if you like this, if you how much time we should spend with each person. Should we put them on a clock so they only get a certain amount of time? How frequently you want me to do this? Whether this time is better than the other time we did. If we do it at 8 in the morning US Eastern time, I think it does make it so that the Aussies and the New Zealanders can't get on at all. Hawaii, we don't have anybody in Hawaii. West Coast US is tough, but then it's easier for people in Asia. So I see some people from the Asian market who are on here. The attendance is much lower for this one than it was last one, but that's because we just did the last one. So that's another thing, is if we do these too often, then people stop showing up. So send me feedback either in the chat window is nice, but send it if you want to, like, just email me. Let's just keep in touch. Send me an email or something like that. And I value all this. We read all the feedback and just want to make this the best product that there is. And hopefully you're finding that it is. I mean, our goal in 2018 in my marketing team and we want to build a moat around this. We want to be the best resource for anybody who's looking to grow their agency. And I feel like we're making headway in doing that. And this is the best part. I love talking to people. I love going through this. The best, send it to support@agencycourse.com, because that goes into our system. I'll still answer it, but at least everybody on the team can see it. I really do prefer if everybody on my team can see it, because it gives us momentum. Like when your testimonials come in, when people talk about how much they enjoy something, or even if they don't like something, my whole team sees it that way, and we can all start to make adjustments, because it's not just me doing this. We have a 5-person team who's building this out and thinking about this, living and breathing it every single day. And so we all love the momentum that comes from people who are happy, or actually we even like people who are unhappy. And I just heard the noise of my AirPods dying. So we just on cue, it's starting to happen. So send an email, support@agencycourse.com. Everybody will see it. And I think this is a good meeting. So I'm going to end it now. And I appreciate everybody joining us. And we'll get the recording up there as soon as we can if you want to watch this again. And look forward to talking to you in the new year, and for hearing your thoughts on Sales Jumpstart as we get more of those lessons out there. Thanks, everybody.